And then on the other side of that, if you do have teams that are enough to do 10 million damage, do 10 million damage one time and then don't touch the boss again until Sunday.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
What is up, Heroes of Dominion? My name is Charlie. This is Hero War Central, and this video is going to be about Osh, the Eternal Keeper, best strategies for team building towards the ideas of defeating this guy as best as possible for the newer to mid-range players, and a little bit of tips and tricks on the boss himself. So the big concern that everybody has with this new activity, this boss, is not necessarily the strategy on how to defeat the boss, because that will come in time. Strategies that are good against bosses elsewhere are generally going to be good here. Think about what you use to fight Outland bosses, what you use to fight bosses in the campaign, and what you've used to fight bosses in various other events in the past. They're probably going to be pretty effective here. You do get 5 attacks per weekend, per phase 2, and phase 2 is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. However, you can only use each hero one time, so you can't use your main team of 5 for all 5 of the fights. So this is causing a little bit of consternation, which is a fun word, in players who have not really leveled up multiple heroes or haven't been playing the game that long. And honestly, I've been playing the game coming up on 3 years, and I don't have 5 teams of 5. In fact, I dislike Grand Arena so much that I don't even have 3 teams of 5. I don't have 15 set heroes or 3 teams of 5 that I would use in the Grand Arena, let alone 5 teams of 5. I want to talk a little bit about what you should do and how you should build teams with that, with that style of player mindset, because going forward, this conversation needs to happen every time you consider a new hero, every time you think about investing in your main team versus a second team versus a fourth team. You need to be referencing this video or videos like it. What am I talking about specifically? You can see my Kark team is pretty strong. Astaroth, Kark, Faceless, Nebula, Martha. I also have a handful of supports directly below it. Sebastian, Jorgen. I'm working on Helios. I also am working on Isaac because I'm starting to see a lot more Auroras and a lot more Celestes. But then I get a big drop off. Sure, most of my heroes are level 130, and my weakest hero, I do have some level 1s that I'm still leveling up. So I don't have every hero at max level yet, but even my level 130s, they're all very low. 17,000 power. This Kira is at 23,000 power. Even all the way up here, right below my main line of heroes, you can see that, Isaac, Celeste are my bottom orange heroes. My Jet is only 46,000. My Leon is only 35,000. And it's a pretty steep drop off after that. So the first thing that I want to tell everybody is to don't panic. Relax. Okay? Your guild does not expect you to just immediately put up 5 sets of teams that have 500,000 power each. If your guild does expect that, that's because they've been expecting that sort of output from you all along. I'm not going to expect anybody in any of my guilds, and likewise, any of the guilds that I'm a part of, I don't expect anybody that doesn't do, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 activity a day, 100,000 activity a week. I'm not going to expect anybody, except from those players, to put 5 teams of 5 really strong, even 250,000 power level teams. I'm not going to expect that. And your guild won't expect that of you either. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you to do is just relax. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. The second thing that I'm going to recommend you do is to look at your main team of 5 and consider that you should not put all 5 into your main team. Maybe you put Astaroth and Kark together, but then Faceless, Martha, and Nebula you put in other teams, right? We already know that Kark is going to be a weak hero versus bosses, and Osh is not going to be no exception. Put these highly leveled up heroes in other teams to kind of spread out the love, spread out the power level. If you have some weak damage dealers, like say, maybe you're trying to put a Cornelius and a, Ching Mao in a team, then you could put Nebula, a leveled up Nebula between them, and they'll do more damage than they normally would. That's just kind of one way to spread out the love with your existing main team of 5 or 10 heroes. But once you start actually making the decision on what heroes to level and all of that, I kind of want to discuss some of those right now. What I would recommend you do, the very first strategy when it comes to leveling up additional heroes is to level up those support or counter heroes first, to a point. All right, now hear me out. Some of the support or counter heroes that I would suggest include Sebastian and Nebula. Of course, you have Jorgen, you have Helios, you have Isaac, you have Jet. Jet's a good support hero in a lot of damage dealing teams. Don't forget about Cornelius, who's exceptional in some of the campaign missions, which is worth leveling up for the campaign missions. You have the hero Morgan, who's good at countering resurrect heroes like Astaroth and Rufus in PvP, so Morgan would be decent to level up as a support hero, also providing that armor penetration. And of course, later on, we're going to discuss tanks. Morgan is going to be a good pairing with Corvus. You also have Leon, who's a pretty good counter to Kira and other area of effect damage dealing heroes. All in all, there's 8 to 10 pretty decent support heroes that you could level up aside from your main team, and chances are you're using two to four of those support heroes already circulating in your main team of 5. Level up those 8 to 10 heroes first. Okay, you can spread those out among your 5 teams of 5, and that'll be a nice start. And you will use those support heroes in various other teams through guild wars, supporting specific counter teams in arena, all of that. You'll use all of those in the future, so it'll be the least amount of wasted resources. Now, the asterisk or the caveat with leveling up these support heroes is that you only need to level them to about 60 to 70% effectiveness. What effectiveness means to you, it could mean anything from 100,000 power level being sort of the bottom of where a hero would be effective at the end game. That's just an arbitrary number for higher end of the mid-range. It could be 80,000. It could be 75,000, depending on where you are. Take a look at your top end heroes, and I have a maxed out Kark, so we're just going to skip Kark. We're just going to go down to Astaroth. My Astaroth is 120,000 power level. My Faceless is only at about 97, 98,000 power level. So let's call it 70,000 power level is 70% effectiveness. All right, completely arbitrary numbers, I know, but the way this game works is the bottom 70% of a hero's resources, the skin stones, the glyphs, the artifacts, the gold, all of that. The first 70% of a hero is going to be the most effective use of that hero regarding resources spent. Once you get past that 70%-ish mark, it starts to get exponentially more expensive to level that hero up. And the main focus of that discussion has to do with these items and the cost of building these items up. You'll also want to be very mindful of skins. Sebastian has 3 skins. Using him as an example, you really want him in your team for high physical attack if you're using him for the debuff protection. If you're using him for the bonus critical hit and pure damage, it's kind of the same situation. You want that physical attack leveled up as high as possible. All of his skills, with the exception of his ultimate, are based on physical attack. So maybe focus on his physical attack or agility skin, and don't worry about the armor skin until way later. Same thing about glyphs. Focus on physical attack and agility first, maybe a little bit of health to keep him alive, and then move on to another hero. Level up Sebastian to roughly 60 to 70% effectiveness of the rest of your team, and that's going to go for everybody else in the support heroes list that I mentioned. Jorgen, Helios, Isaac, Leon, Cornelius, Morgan, Jet, all of those support heroes. And again, to be very clear, when I say support heroes in this instance, I don't mean the support role. I mean all of these heroes that you swap in or out of your main team to support that team or to help manage the opposing team. Now, when it comes to tanks, I have Astaroth leveled up pretty high. I also have Aurora pretty hefty at 93,000 power level, so it'd be strange not to use her here. I also think Cleaver is going to end up being one of the better tanks in the game on a general level, so I've been working on Cleaver a little bit. Corvus, I think as he gets more skins, will end up being one of the top tanks in the game as well. Certainly you can see him in a lot of countering teams and a lot of very offensive teams now. You can even consider Galahad in this list of tanks. There are many tanks in this game. We've got Cleaver, Astaroth, Corvus, Galahad, Luther, Rufus, Ziri, Lilith, and Shaba. You could also consider some heroes as non-tank tanks like Anvari and Dante, Marcus, Ishmael. On some levels, you can use a hero like Zhu or Qing Mao as a non-tank. You can use a dodge hero like Yasmin or Elmir as a non-tank. You need 5, okay? You need to pick 5 from that list. In my opinion, tanks on secondary and third and fourth and fifth teams, those need to be leveled after your support heroes for your main team. And then your tanks need to have heavy investment into them because they are the ones going to be taking the most damage up front. Focus on their armor first, maybe their health after that. Definitely a little bit of magic defense to keep them alive. Again, we're not necessarily building these tanks for PvP, for arena fighting, for guild war fighting. You already have a team built for that, right? I'm already using my Astaroth Kark team for arena and guild wars. So I don't need a tank for PvP. I'm looking for tanks that are going to be effective against player versus environment, this new Osh Baby God fight. That's what I'm looking for. Pick 2 to 3 of the tanks from the tank list, and then maybe 1 to 2 of the non-tanks. Dante is an exceptional hero. Marcus, as a healer, can pull double duty as a frontline tank and healer in some teams. And there's a plethora of other heroes like Krista and, like I mentioned, Ishmael, Yasmin, Elmir that can be a tank in the right situation. They can be there long enough to get the fight going against this boss, and then let your leveled up supports and then a couple of your damage dealers do the rest. Speaking of damage dealers, your main team's damage dealer, in my opinion, is the thing that you should be pumping the absolute most. When I'm discussing building main teams and how to build and invest resource into main teams, I always tell people to invest their tanks as much as you can until they consistently stay alive, until they're consistently not the first hero to die. Once they're consistently not the first hero to die, invest everything else into your damage dealer. And you can see that here. I maxed out my Kark first, and I've been leveling my Astaroth up to keep him in line with opponents in the arena so that my Kark and my Astaroth are not the first heroes in my team to die. And if they are, then Astaroth revives Kark, of course. Outside of your main team, I feel like DPSs are the least important when it comes to building teams for Osh and this 5-team activity. That being said, some of the damage dealers that I would not recommend are going to be Kark. Kark really relies on enemies being knocked up in the air, and traditionally you cannot knock bosses up into the air. Some of the damage dealers that I would recommend are going to be Orion. Orion does a lot of attacks very fast, high magic damage, provides his own magic penetration, targets the enemy with the highest health with his ultimate. Fantastic boss fighting hero, does not need any other hero in his team to be effective. You can put him into literally any other team with a physical tank, with a physical healer, with physical supports, and he'll still be fine. Orion is a great choice. Yasmin does not need any support either. She's completely self-sufficient. She's got her own damage mitigation and her high dodge and invulnerability. She's got high damage out of her crits and her poisons via pure damage. She does do a lot of single target hits. Fantastic choice. It's looking like Zhu is the king of boss fights. Zhu is very difficult to kill. Lots of single target damage, high crits, pure damage, attacks very fast. Zhu is a great choice for your damage dealer. Mojo, because of his Hex, has traditionally been very strong against bosses. Hex persists through death and is based on your entire team's damage output. Mojo, I think, is going to be a fantastic choice for damage dealers against bosses like Osh. Qing Mao does a lot of front-end single target damage, as well as Elmir. But I think Qing Mao is definitely going to be the better of the two. Elmir is a great single target damage dealer, but he doesn't do much to ramp up his own damage. He's really there for ramping up other heroes' damage. You could consider him kind of a support hero in that regard, but I don't really feel like he fits in enough situations. Daredevil with their single target damage over time is going to be really effective. If Phobos can paralyze the boss, he's going to be very effective. You also have heroes like Artemis, whose ultimate will hit multiple enemies or one enemy if there's one on there, and Artemis just got that nice little upgrade where her damage is just going to ramp up the entire fights. Satori's probably going to be good. I think Dante is going to be amazing. Ishmael, I think, is going to be really strong in this fight. Peppy, with her single target big damage hit, I think is going to be exceptional. Kira, I probably wouldn't recommend. She does do a lot of physical damage, but a lot of her utility is built into hitting multiple targets at once, dealing a lot of damage to multiple targets at once. And while you will occasionally have multiple targets in this boss fight, I'm not sure that Kira is going to be the most effective new DPS to level. If Kira's in your main team, then use her, just like I'm going to use Kark in my main team. But if you're leveling up additional DPS teams, then Kira would not be a high priority. Like I said, continue to look through heroes like Astrid and Lucas that do a lot of single target damage, a lot of damage over time, or damage that persists through death. And then finally, your healers. I mean, you can really use anybody for your healers. Really, any of them will work. Your classic choices like Martha and Dorian and Celeste are going to be very good and, spread throughout your various teams. Marcus is going to pull double duty as a tank and a healer in the right setup, so he's probably one of the most important heroes to level up now. You could use Maya, you could use Thea. With this new damage shield, Thea's probably going to be a pretty solid choice. Can't find my Thea right off. Having strong healers are going to be important, but I would also, again, focus on those healers that are the most important and that provide the most utility overall. Like I mentioned, Marcus is going to be fantastic. Thea, with her magic defense weapon, is going to help you in Arena versus the Twins and other magic damage teams. Celeste is great in the campaign. She's great in PvP. She's definitely going to be great against single target damage. And of course, Dorian and Martha, we know the power of them. So I'm not sure yet what my teams are going to look like. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more in my live stream today. I think I will be following some of my own advice, spreading my main team out, and possibly only really attacking with 2 to 3 teams. But remember, one last thing that I want to leave you with before I end this video that was way too long. Do not forget that you need to battle a guild raid boss 5 times in order to get full value from this weekly quest. And this Ascension to Asgard wants you to fight the boss 5 times as well. Even if you don't have 5 teams of 5, throw up just a gray hero, a level 1 hero, whatever. Actually have the fight. Even if you die immediately, that will count as fighting the guild raid boss at least once. And then on the other side of that, if you do have teams that are enough to do 10 million damage, do 10 million damage one time and then don't touch the boss again until Sunday. All right, let me say that again. If you can do 10 million in one attack, do that one attack and then do no more attacks until Sunday. Let everybody else in your guild do their one attack to get 10 million or 3 attacks to get 10 million or whatever. This will keep the boss's level and difficulty as low as possible so that everybody can have a chance to get that 10 million damage reward. I hope this video was extremely helpful. If you found it educational, interesting, helpful at all, please consider leaving it a like. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing. Good luck fighting Osh, the baby god, guys. I love you all. Good luck in Dominion.